Let's have a look at the state of play where we are at the moment. It's relatively familiar. I've been following this for the last few hours, maybe a couple of days or so. It's more or less where it was before, but the counting is gradually increasing and we are definitely getting closer to the finish line. How many more hours it's going to be, couldn't necessarily tell you, but we are getting closer. So here we are. You can see Joe Biden here, 253 electoral college votes, and as you know, he needs to get up to 270. So he's essentially one big state away, two small states away. If you've got Nevada and Arizona, that would be good news for him. He's leading in both of them, but the counts are continuing. I'm going to show you an interesting visualization of that. Nevada aren't counting that much at the moment, but Arizona are, but still a long way to go. And by the way, Alaska will probably be Republican. But over here is probably where the action is going to be in the next few hours. So we've got Georgia down there. They are getting really close to having a result there. Trump in front in Georgia, Trump in front in North Carolina as well. But Trump also in front in Pennsylvania. And I want to talk about Pennsylvania because that's an area where things are starting to change. So come across here and I'll show you. Let's bring up Pennsylvania. There it is. Too close to call in Pennsylvania. The lead about 100 and kind of 110, 112,000 at this stage, actually. Probably better to think in terms of numbers of votes rather than just these percentages. So Trump about 110,000. But there's still about 500,000 votes yet to count, a bit more than 500,000. And the thing is, they are breaking for Joe Biden. So votes in particular, kind of Philadelphia, to some extent Pittsburgh as well, they're going towards Joe Biden at the moment. And that's just the pattern that we've seen throughout this election. You'll probably recall that. Recall how some states, whether it was Iowa, in various other places, Texas as well for a while, looked like they were Joe Biden's and then they kind of went to Donald Trump. We've seen this kind of wave where it's gone from one party to another. And this gives you a good kind of illustration of what we're talking about here. So this shows you from the start of the counting, because this is counted gradually, which candidate Pennsylvania was going for. So look, at the start, Joe Biden, blue for Democrats. Joe Biden was leading. And then as those on-the-day votes came in, Donald Trump took the lead in Pennsylvania. Crucial state here, 20 electoral college votes. If Joe Biden got it, he would win the presidency. If Donald Trump got it, it would make that path a little bit more difficult. And what you can see is this. Look, these two lines narrowing and narrowing over the course of the following hours. And that's where we are at the moment. About 2 percentage points in it between these two men. As I say, about 100,000, 115 maybe thousand votes. But the key is the votes that are being counted now are coming from more metropolitan areas that tend to favour Joe Biden. So if that continues, Pennsylvania looks good for him. How about Arizona? He's in the lead in Arizona at the moment. That's the Democrat line. But again, you see the same thing. As we've got closer towards the end, 75%, 80% of votes counted. Look, Donald Trump's votes, this is a traditionally Republican state. Donald Trump's votes have gone up. Joe Biden's have gone down. And the question mark is whether we see a crossover there. That's going to be interesting to watch, as is, I mentioned Georgia a moment ago. Let's have a look at Georgia, because this is, you could hardly get a more traditional Republican state. This is who they voted for over the last 4 elections. It's gone Republican all the time. It would be incredibly unusual. Actually, if Joe Biden were to win in Georgia, he'd be the first non-Southern Democrat to win in this state since, I think, 1960, since kind of before civil rights, John F. Kennedy kind of period. And it's worth just considering where they are now. It is so tight. It's razor tight if you look at the numbers here. Just look at that. You've got maybe about 13,000 votes in it or so in Georgia, and they are 98% in. And you've seen the same thing in Georgia, as I showed you a moment ago, in Pennsylvania, with Joe Biden catching up gradually. And he's catching up because counties like Fulton, so this is basically Atlanta. You know, this is your big metropolitan area. There you can see Atlanta there, in the heart of Georgia. And the votes have been coming in thick and fast for Joe Biden. 72%, 73% of the vote going to Joe Biden in this county. So we're looking at county-level data within Georgia. Is that going to be enough for him? It's going to be so tight. It's going to be so tight. I mean, like, the math says he could technically do it, but it's going to be pretty ambitious if he does. And finally, it's worth just thinking about what that does to the electoral college map if he does it. Well, let's consider this, OK? So if you give Georgia to Joe Biden, you've probably spotted this already. Come and have a look. He's up to 269. Now, that means two things. First of all, it means Donald Trump cannot automatically win the presidency. It would be a tie if he got it. But second, and it means if Joe Biden got any of these states, Nevada, Arizona, probably not going to get Alaska, but North Carolina, Pennsylvania, then he is in the White House. So Georgia could be massive for him, but controversially as well, if Donald Trump wins the rest of these states, well, what happens? Let's fill them all in red. 269 each. That would be a tie. It would be the first time since 1800, I think. Dermot, you probably know your history better on this stuff, but the first time since 1800, Thomas Jefferson, Aaron Burr would go on for days, weeks perhaps. House of Representatives, state delegations would have to work out who was going to be president, but in a sense, let's hope that's not going to happen. It's going to be a long and winding road anyway. Let's just remind ourselves, though, where we are. So forget about 269. Have a look at this instead, our virtual White House. And you can see where the race is right now. That's Joe Biden, 253 Electoral College votes ahead of Donald Trump with 214. But still, we're not there yet. We're getting closer, but we're not at the finishing line yet.